If you followed my channel for any length of time, then you would have probably seen a few of my videos that I've based on Richard Grannon's videos. And yes, I'm a bit of a fan. There's plenty of psychologists and psychiatrists on YouTube, but a lot of the ones you see aren't very appealing. You wonder how well they know their job, and sometimes they're just really hopeless at explaining things. Richard Grannon, on the other hand, seems to really know his stuff, and he's really good at explaining stuff. So about a week ago, a video of his came up on my feed that I hadn't actually seen. And of course the title immediately grabbed my attention. I thought, yeah, this could be an interesting video to watch. So I jumped in and had a look. And, well, to me, actually felt like he was describing an individual that I know, an individual that we all know. So I thought I'd share this video with you, and along the way talk about the things that I see that fit in with what he talks about. What I find interesting is that, well, obviously he's talking about the female narcissist in relationships. So, someone who is a friend or someone who's a partner. But in this instance, I'm looking at it in terms of female narcissist who's basically got themselves their own YouTube channel, their own little narcissist world. The funny thing is, it all still fits perfectly, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Let's jump in.
Understanding the female narcissist can be confusing. We typically don't think of women as being narcissists as such, as having narcissistic personality disorder. So when they do, it can be very, very confusing. When you're looking at the communication that you're receiving, first thing to remember is they are not communicating with you as an adult. So everything in the environment would indicate to you that there is you and her, and there's two people talking. There is really only her communicating with herself, and you are an instrument that exists only in her world, not as a separate person, but as a part of her to interact with. That is why if you deviate from that map, her map of reality, which is not reality, her map of reality, you'll see an awful lot of stress. You'll see an awful lot of criticism. You'll see an awful lot of emotional dysregulation.
Okay, there's quite a lot to unpack there, and that's only the very start. First thing he said was that understanding the female narcissist is confusing. Well, this to me totally relates to Megan Cole. How many times have I seen when I've done a video and comments underneath have been along the lines of WTF? Sometimes it's just unfathomable trying to figure out what she's saying, what's going on in her head, or why she does certain things. Yep, trying to understand Megan Cole is sure as hell. It really resonated also with me when he said that they're not communicating with you as an adult. Some of the things that Megan comes out with are very much what you would expect from a child in grade 2 or grade 1, whatever, It's not my fault, he started it. Or if someone calls her out on something, they're picking on me. Not quite those exact words, but you get what I'm saying. At first I thought it was a really odd thing for him to say when he said that she's communicating with herself and you're just an instrument that exists in her world, part of her to interact with. But then I thought about it, and I was thinking about the way she gets there on her channel, and she manipulates the people in her chat to say the things that she wants to say. Whether it's the typical version of, I'm just such a horrible person, I don't know why anyone would want to be my friend, when she's playing the victim, and then all of a sudden people are jumping up and down in chat and going, it's not you, it's them, they're all big bullies. When she's there live on her channel, she is directing the people who are watching, using subtle manipulation to get them to say what she wants them to say, that's going to massage her ego. And of course, should someone go into her chat and disagree with what's supposed to be said in chat, straight away her and her friends jump all over them, and then the next thing you know, they're blocked. Which of course leads into what he was saying. If you deviate from her map of reality, then you're going to see stress, you're going to see criticism, and you're going to see emotional dysregulation. And hell yeah, we've seen all that with Megan Cole. As soon as someone questions the things she says, she becomes stressed out, she becomes upset, or she becomes angry. And she fires back with criticism, she fires back with bullying, she fires back with false narratives about whoever it is that is not playing the game and speaking out against her or pointing out her lies. Heck, it's a major roller coaster in the world of Megan Cole. When she's got her followers all skipping along behind her and agreeing with her, then she's happy as Larry. The moment someone steps out of line, then she's either vicious or miserable. And it's always going from one extreme to the other. So, yep, I agree with what he's saying here, and I can definitely relate it to Megan Cole.
The typical tools that she will use to attack you, to draw you back into performing as you should in the film that she's creating, will revolve around guilt tripping you, making you feel ashamed, and attacking your image of yourself, attacking sometimes your reputation, sometimes your character, but particularly your idea of who you are will be attacked first and foremost.
Okay, well, him talking about them having tools to bring you back into line and then listing them. Let's start with the guilt trip. When she's been called out big time, and when it's got to the point when even people who follow her on her channel are speaking out on her lives and saying, you've gone too far, you've got to stop. What does she do? That's when she has the big emotional meltdown. And suddenly, anyone who's saying anything to upset her is a really, really bad person. And anyone who's turned their back on her when she's being picked on or whatever it is a really, really bad person. She does the guilt trip. She plays the victim. She does the sob story. She's even at times done the whole threatening to top herself. And then suddenly everyone comes running back to her, ready to listen, because they feel guilty. And it also silences the people who've been talking about her. Well, that's her goal, to silence the people who've been talking about her. If you remember back to last November, I think it was, when she had her last big meltdown, and she had things worked to the point where all her supporters were like, you know, if these other creators continue to talk about her now and something happens, they're just the worst of the worst. They didn't realise that they were being manipulated. And yeah, sure, maybe there was some emotional dysfunction going on there, but it's a learned behaviour. It's a lifetime learned behaviour. It's something that a narcissist learns from an early age. When you get nailed because you've done something wrong, one of the greatest tools you've got is the guilt trip. Use emotion. Make people feel bad for criticising or questioning you, and make them feel that if they continue to criticise or question you, that they are just the worst person in the world. We've seen her do this countless times. We're no doubt going to see her do this again. It's one of her favourite tools. And let's talk about another one of Megan's favourite tools. And this all goes in a cycle, if you ask me. When she's not being at a low and doing the guilt trip and doing the misery thing, then when she's actually heading towards a high, when she's being her nastiest, then what you see is she's attacking people's image of themselves, attacking their reputation, and attacking their character. So suddenly it's all about how the squirrels are really, really bad people. And suddenly there's stories floating around, rumours floating around about things that squirrels have supposedly done that make them the worst people in the world. And there's the questions about, well, what have you guys done for Kiely? It's trying to make us question ourselves. You guys are only doing this for attention. You're just worthless individuals who have nothing going for you. All that kind of character assassination. Of course, the thing with the internet, especially YouTube, is that this isn't as powerful as if it was one-on-one. She uses these techniques, but it must frustrate the hell out of her when creators just ignore her when she's doing this. But yeah, it is definitely one of the tools in her tool belt. When she doesn't get her own way, or if people are speaking out about her, she goes for either the guilt trip, if she can do the go down on a low emotionally, or she becomes vicious and she goes with the attacking people's self-image, attacking their reputation, attacking their character. It's always one end of the cycle or the other. Never ending. And of course it is a cycle, so what you're going to see is that since she's going through, at the moment, the attacking cycle, there'll be a point again really soon when she realises that it's not working and it's not bringing people back in line. So she will then go back for the guilt cycle. I don't think she's finished with her attacking cycle yet. I don't think it's peaked. But I think it's coming.
Reactive abuse will be a frequently used tactic because reactive abuse allows her to put herself back into her own story. So let's just go back a little bit. Let's remind ourselves, when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder, we're talking about a human being whose coping mechanism, whose maladaptive coping mechanism, which means it's bad for her and bad for the people around her. It's ultimately hurtful. That's what makes it a personality disorder. Her coping mechanism for dealing with reality, for negating reality and for keeping reality out, is to create a fantasy version of herself, a fantasy version of her life, and in a way to be the writer, director, and editor of a film that she's starring in. In that movie, typically, not always, but typically, she is the star and the victim. So typical for female narcissism is that person will want to portray themselves as being the biggest victim in the room.
Honestly, to me, it sounds like this guy wrote the book on Megan Cole. His description of maladaptive coping mechanisms. Let's look at that. First of all, saying that they are hurtful. Oh, heck yeah. How many times when Megan's been called out, or when she thinks that she's losing her power over everything because she has to be in control. Let's accept that as truth. So when she feels like the control is slipping away from her, one of the first things that she does is attack. She is doing her best to be as hurtful as possible to the people that aren't playing her game, the people who question the things she's said, the people who point out the irregularities and the lies. And she's even said somewhere, I think it might have been Kurt, or there's a recording in one of my videos where she specifically says that one of her strategies that she uses to get a reaction out of people is to be hurtful until they react. She's actually said that live, and negating reality, creating a fantasy version of herself. We've all seen that. On one hand, it even happens in a single live. She'll be viciously attacking people who've questioned her or who've pointed out things. And then she'll be turning around and saying to the people on her live, I'm a good person, I'm a nice person. I don't do hurtful things, I don't do spiteful things. I don't lie, even though, we've got so many different recordings that show her lying. But she creates this fantasy version of herself. The perfect Megan, who's a kind person, who would never consider hurting people, who would never consider coming up with lies about people just to spread bad information, who would never do things in spite and then brag about it later, forgetting that people are actually listening to her bragging about those things that she's done in spite. And I will put on a side note here, I find it amazing that the people who follow her on her channel don't call her out on these things. And they agree with her. They get wrapped up in her little fantasy that she is a good person, that she's not a nasty person, that she never does horrible things or says horrible things. Are they blind? Do they have extremely low IQs? I don't know. And the classic, honestly, I could see this as a meme. I could see this as a picture with the title, well, the writing on the side. She is the writer, director, and editor of a film that she's starring in. Oh my gosh, did he hit the nail on the head with this or what? He said she is the star and the victim. That would actually be the perfect little blurb for her YouTube channel. You could actually put that instead of, I think she says drama is welcome, or whatever she's got there now. But I think she should change it to I am the star and the victim. She acts exactly that way. You've seen it. She believes that she is the center of attention. They all love me. They all want to be me. They all stalk me. They all follow me. They've listened to me more than I've listened to me. She's the star. But then they say such horrible things about me. They always pick on me. They bully me. She's the victim. This is just classic.
Whatever pain you're going through, whatever suffering you're going through, you'll never get the satiation of really feeling like you're being heard, like your suffering is ever really being acknowledged, because it has to go through the narcissistic filter. And remember, the narcissistic filter is there. It has one job: keep reality, truth, and factual data out so that I can maintain my artificial reality inside of the narcissistic shell. You're only allowed inside of the narcissistic shell if you're prepared to take off your real, all of your reality filters. You have to switch off all of your reality filters. You have to switch off all of your moral filters. And you have to play the role that they want you to play, which is why, for codependent people, male or female, when they're dealing with the female narcissist, they will frustratingly find themselves playing a role that isn't really them.
He is describing a little bubble, that little bubble of a world that Megan exists in on her YouTube channel. And the people that are allowed inside are the ones that are prepared to switch off their reality filters. I mean, honestly, how can you go into her chat and truly believe when she's telling you she's a good person, she never does anything wrong, when 5 minutes earlier she was bragging about one of her dirty deeds, about something that she's done to piss off another creator or to attack another creator or make them feel bad. So what he's saying here is the perfect description of what we see on her channel. These people that sit there in her chat and praise her and tell her she's a wonderful person and all that sort of stuff, and you're the victim and we feel sorry for you, and how horrible and nasty are these other people. They have turned off their reality filters. And definitely, when they are backing her up, when she is being so malicious and spiteful, that says everything. They are definitely turning off their moral filters to be supporting her in that. And in fact, you even see people in her chat that are encouraging her when she's being malicious and spiteful and nasty. So I wonder if they've even got moral filters in the first place. I know like attracts like. So perhaps in Megan's little bubble of her YouTube channel, she's attracted people who are like her, but are happy to be her followers and make her the queen. And once again, he talks about having to play the role that they want you to play. Go into her chat room, or her chat sometime on her live stream. Say something that goes against the little Megan fantasy. See how quickly you get torn to shreds by the pack of wolves that are sitting in there waiting. The only people that are allowed to stay in Megan's chats are the people who accept her fantasy world and who play their role in her fantasy world. She gets upset if they call her out. She got upset with Wisco the other week when she was saying that she was leaving YouTube for good. And he was basically giving her the hard truth. You can't live without YouTube. You need the attention. You'll be back pretty damn quick. She got all upset with him over that. He wasn't playing the game. And she didn't like that at all. He didn't stick around long after that. I think what he said about people playing a role that isn't really them is interesting. I think in the case of a YouTube channel, and the people that come in and following, I think what you're seeing with Megan's channel is that there are some people who go in there who are as equally spiteful and evil-minded as she is. They aren't playing a role, but they're playing a role which suits Megan. They're playing a role that she welcomes on her channel. But then at the same time, you see other people who, in other instances away from her channel, appear to be moralistic people, and yet they come into her channel and they get there in her channel, they go up on her panel, and they seem to throw away all morals and all sense of right. And you think, is this role that you're playing, is this really you? It's like they're under a spell, or they're just so keen to please Megan that they're going to tell her whatever she expects them to tell her, or act in a way that she expects them to act, because they want to be part of her little drama. And they know that the only way they can do that is to set aside their morals, is to set aside their reality filter and play the role that they are expected to play.
Why didn't I negate that ridiculous story? Why didn't I challenge her when she said that horrible thing to me, to my girlfriend, to my wife, to my kids, or whatever the situation is? You're forced to enter her reality and to stay there. You're coerced into playing your role. The injunctions that you receive are the following. I am always right. Therefore, in a certain sense, you are always wrong. I am superior. Therefore, you are always inferior. So if you're always self-effacing, self-humiliating, humble and passive and hyper-agreeable, fawning, you'll be okay inside of her world. If you try to exist as a separate person, you'll hear the following injunction. You won't hear it consciously, but unconsciously it will be delivered. I am going to punish you for having your own will. I am going to punish you from being separate to me. I am going to punish, shame, humiliate, frighten, bully, and threaten and intimidate you now for negating my fantastical version of who I am. You're an actor on set. You have a job to do. Follow the script, play your role, or get out.
This is a perfect example of what we see on Megan's channel, where he says that people come away and think, why didn't I negate her when she said that horrible thing? How many times do we see her on a live being outright vicious, or when she's making comments like her fresh water comment about the car that was at her house, and nobody in her chat speaks up because they know it's not their role to speak up? How many of them, I wonder, get off that live, or even while they're watching, think, I probably should say something because what she is doing now or saying now is morally wrong. But they don't. They play their role because they know that if they don't, the sanction is that they're going to be attacked by the rest of the pack and hounded out. We hear her giving the message all the time, I'm always right, I am superior. She gives this so often that it seems like her followers seem to have this indoctrinated into their heads, and they don't question it. Is she always right? No. Is she superior? Far from it. But she's always pushing this narrative. She's always saying how she's right, and the people who are questioning what she's saying are just idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. And of course they don't know what they're talking about because she's from Truckee and they're not. And she went searching for Kiely. They didn't. She's right. And of course superior same thing. I'm superior because I was there when Kiely went missing, and I went out and I went searching when Kiely went missing. What did you guys do? And saying that people are hyper agreeable towards her, that is so spot on. If you're hyper agreeable, then you're allowed to stay in her chat. If you question it, straight away you're labelled a troll and you are blocked or thrown out. The punishment happens pretty much straight away. You're not allowed to question Megan Cole, or you are punished immediately. If someone who's been part of her chat is spotted in a squirrel chat, then they come back to her live and she attacks them. She's like, well, you were in Shan's live. She's basically calling them a traitor. She's attacking them. And then she blocks them, or she hounds them till they leave. People can only exist in her chat if they agree with her fantasy world, if they don't negate her fantasy version of who she is. The minute they go against her little fantasy, they're gone.
It's my way or the highway. That's the injunction you're going to hear. In these environments, in this kind of a psychological setting, how do you have reconciliation? How do you have an adult to adult, authentic, honest, vulnerable conversation? You don't. You must learn to abandon all attempts at sincere communication when communicating with the terminally insincere. All the information you give about what you're doing, how you're feeling, what's going on in your life, and who you really are will be used against you at a later date as ammunition to attack you, to attack your sense of self, to attack your reality. The dominance that she wants cannot be asserted. It can't be given to you through assertive commands and demands and threats that are overt. It has to be done subtly. It's very invasive and it seeks to completely eradicate your identity so that she can place her identity into that space. This is frightening and dangerous because if she succeeds, she will possess you like a possessing spirit. And you can see that with some people. They're walking around and they're, we say in the Jungian psychology, anima possessed. Possessed by the spirit of an angry and bitter and spiteful woman who believes that she is the biggest victim in the world.
I don't think I need to add anything to that final comment. So I'll leave it at that.
I've been going to